Hi everyone. So for this next video I will be continuing with our lovely sunflower, the paperweight. And where we are at the moment is here with some deep engraving into the back, creating the middle bit. And we have now to do all the rather interesting shapes, and I'll show you a close-up. These little shapes going all the way around the edge. We've done a very simplified version of that pattern on the inside, and now we're going to create these little bits and pieces around the edges. But to be honest, obviously not every single one or even remotely exactly like the picture. It is to give the impression of this, and as you can see, it is deeper. Well, as in it comes out more, so we have engraved it deeper. So already we've created this trench, and I'll be engraving deeply into that, so it should give you the same effect as that, or a similar sort of effect. And then after that we will do the petals, and then right in the end adding the last few little bits on top of the petals, sort of round the edges, as a final little flash of depth, because we really need I want to get the middle done first, but the last thing has to be whatever's in the front and protruding the most, and that will be the tiny little bits around the edge. So this is going to be interesting. They are an interesting little slightly elongated shape, then with these little dots on top, and so it's just to create something that'll look a little bit like that. And from a distance, and without my glasses on, I should put them on in fact, they're almost like an embroidered bead kind of effect, which is really lovely. And then the petals, we will be showing the different depths, starting with the ones that are behind and then slowly coming forward. So the ones nearer the front will be the deepest ones, and they will look like they're coming out to the front. Well, in this case they will be, because they will be coming up into the paperweight. It's all very back to front and inside out. And quite often for beginners it's tricky to get your head around it, and also quite often for engravers that have been doing this a very long time, seasoned engravers, it can still do your head in after a while. But yeah, no, I think this will be fun. And then I plan to do a little creature on the top. All right, let's get on with it. So in my drill I have a tiny little rat's tail, very sharp. So basically you're looking for your tiniest, sharpest burr. I am very simply creating a background kind of rough lacy effect. I'm kind of in my mind breaking down what I saw on the paper, the picture I had printed out. Background lacy bits with lots of little dots. So lots of water, and I'm not going that deep, to be honest. I am literally skipping over the surface, creating these little squiggles. you can see, it's already created quite an interesting effect. This is a sort of a designer sunflower. As I usually say, it's not a botanical study by any stretch of the imagination. Here I have a small round diamond burr, and I am randomly adding some quite deep little dots nearer the middle. As always, the water makes life so much easier. I can't begin to tell you the difference. I mean, you can see it went in like butter. Bearing in mind, I am speeded up a little bit here. I'm going 120% faster than normal speed. There we are. That looks quite organic already. Now I'm taking the same burr and just starting to add. I could have done that the first trip round, but I'm just adding a few random big ones just further out. I will be changing to a smaller burr, so if you have two different sizes, use the bigger one first. Don't go straight in with your smallest one, because I'm going to do smaller little dots near the edge. But really it doesn't matter, of course. You are the artist here, and this is just an impression. Now here is my much smaller burr, and I'm adding these little dots. Randomly round the outside and mixed in with some of the bigger ones. If you go on the internet, there's so many different stages of a sunflower, and you can create all sorts of different patterns. Probably a little bit like my butterfly. There's no harm in you creating your own designer effect in the middle of a sunflower. I think that is really good fun, and I wouldn't mind doing this again and using that idea of different patterns for the whole center of the sunflower. As I mentioned in the beginning, these little dots will spread more into the edges of the petals once the petals are completed. I'll add a few more. Rather fun, actually. It's quite therapeutic, this sunflower. Here I have a rubber disc. And I'm just running it over the tops. Bearing in mind there are those little squiggly bits underneath, but sometimes, you know, it's like paintings. You change your mind and paint over things and add things in later, and that's kind of what I've done here. You'll see some of the little squiggly bits still showing through, but at the same time, this may well be taking some of them away. I will possibly add more later, I think I do. But what I'm doing here is making sure that I've got no little chippy bits. Now that rubber and lots of other rubbers, if you've used a different rubber, they will be leaving bits of rubber inside your deep engraved little circles. So I've just used a little brush. It's actually a burr. And I could have put it into the drill and run it slowly over the top, but I was too lazy. I just did it by hand. Any little brush, a little toothbrush or a painting brush with slightly more rigid bristles, and that'll just flick out the bits of rubber. And if they are stubborn, wet it and they should come out fine. Here I've got the little rat's tail again, and I am once again adding some little squiggly bits. I love the undulations of this. I'm trying to think of what else I can do that has a similar effect. Yeah, great fun. Right, a large-ish diamond burr, and I'm starting to create the background leaves. I mean petals. And very roughly going over them. When I say roughly, I mean I will be overlapping some of the front petals, but that absolutely does not matter. I am just doing these first. I'm not going that deep. The only areas I would go deep slightly is where I am away from an upper petal, because I'm going to be engraving the upper petals much deeper. And so I don't want to be fighting with the depths. I want these background petals just to be almost surface engraved where they touch the upper petals. You don't have to use a diamond, of course. You can use a small greenstone or something like that if you wanted. There's so many different ways of tackling engravings. If, for example, you used a little greenstone, you could easily highlight with a diamond later in areas that you feel need to show up a little bit more, depending on how coarse your greenstone is or any other stone you may want to use. We will be neatening the points of the petals as well, just in case you're a little bit concerned. There are ridges on the petals, so I am creating a couple of ridges, as I say, not going that deeply, but here I can because it's a more visible background petal, and later we'll be adding more ridges because obviously this burr is quite fat. And so I am limited to the number of ridges I can create with it. So now I have a rubber. This is actually a black rubber. You can use a soft grey rubber. You can use whatever rubbers you have. Obviously this one is quite elderly. I've already flipped it over and put it back on the mandrel upside down to try and get more life out of it. And as you can see, I am roughly shading the sort of inner areas of the background petals, because it then makes engraving the upper petals a little bit more effective. They automatically will jump on top of these background petals. I will still be able to shade between the two anyway, especially with a rubber disc which will hop over the surfaces. You'll understand later if you don't understand that now. But this process is just a quick and easy way to add shading in the background. So now I have the same large-ish diamond burr. And I'm going to get stuck in a little bit more. So engraving much deeper now. See how instantly this petal or these petals appear on the top of the others. Obviously, like in this case, there's a petal that requires another one over the top. It doesn't matter that you haven't done all the petals in the background first. It is just a quick and easy way of doing background shading. But where you want a petal to be above the other, you're going to engrave it deeper. Almost there. There's so much that you can touch up, as you go along. You will see maybe, in fact, I did notice that one side was a little bit longer than the other. But anyway, here we go. That is the end of part 2. And you can see I've been playing with a yellow filter for fun. And that's what it looks like so far, and already rather lovely. I just am loving this. So therapeutic. So I am looking forward to finishing this piece in part 3 very shortly. Thanks for watching, guys. See you soon. Bye for now.